I have seen in life often relationships getting destroyed due to the feeling of revenge and retaliation. Whether it is justified or not, that feeling happens to be there, and that person wants to take revenge all the time. You know. Why does this feeling come up of wanting to take revenge?
Good question, good subject, because this seems to be happening quite regularly and increasingly in society today. So first you need to understand what is revenge. What according to you is revenge?
You want to retaliate on something that you feel that it has been done to you?
Revenge is the action that I take based on the feeling I develop that something wrong has been done to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling that I have been wronged and I want to retaliate to compensate for the wrong done to me.
Yes.
Compensate to my satisfaction.
Yeah.
That is revenge. Why are people revengeful? People are not born revengeful. They are cultivated revengeful. Where does the cultivation start? Sometimes in the childhood itself, inadvertently. And the famous example is of a baby that has just started learning to walk, falls down on the floor, gets hurt, and the mother comes running because the baby is crying, picks up the baby and tries to placate the baby. And the baby continues to cry. And the mother's attempts to placate that, pacify that baby are not successful. Out of frustration, the mother says, okay, this thing hurt you, is it? Okay, I'm beating this thing, I'm beating this thing, I'm beating this thing. Now keep quiet. Inadvertently, without knowledge, the mother has taught the baby retaliation.
Yeah, the seed of retaliation is sown in that.
Yes, at that very young age, the seed of retaliation has been sown in that small child's brain. If something hurts you, you hurt back. That's the cultivation. Now, when this is not getting corrected as the child starts growing up and it gets endorsed repeatedly, the tit for tat syndrome,
Yes.
then you grow up into an adult who is revengeful. This is the genesis of revenge.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it can be exhibited in various degrees.
That is true. Even when people prove that they have not really done that thing to cause this feeling of revenge, that is not accepted. And that
There are two aspects to this. One, I have a feeling that you did something wrong to me, my interpretation of whatever you did. So I did something in retaliation, my revengeful act. Then you tried to justify what you did and tried to prove to me that what you did was not wrong. I understood that what you did was not wrong, but I have already committed the reaction.
Yes.
Now I want to justify my reaction, so I don't accept your explanation.
Yeah.
The inadequacy on both counts is on my part.
Correct.
The first count is I was revengeful, and the second count was I was not gracious enough to accept my fault in being revengeful. So I have not only endorsed my revenge, I have justified it to my own mind, though it is wrong. The second thing could be, your justification is not right. My revenge, I'm not justifying. But the explanation you are giving to me is not true. But just to tide over the discomfort or barrier between these two individuals, I accept one option.
Yes.
I escalate another option.
Correct.
Right? So the activity continues, and you will see this thing continuing for generations.
No,
The father and his brother have a dispute that gets carried down to the children, that gets carried down to the grandchildren. So there is a hierarchical dispute simply based on one misunderstanding or one act of indiscretion committed by one party.
But a lot of movies are also based on this feeling of revenge.
That is also education, no? What your mother did when the mother inadvertently taught you the retaliation is what the movies are doing. Now, the movies are not interested in the upbringing of the younger generation of the nation. They are interested in profits. Movies are meant purely commercial.
Yes.
There is no education in that movie. Many movies are senseless violence and senseless revenge. Now, when young impressionable minds from the age group of 8 to 16, 17, 18 are watching these movies without any correction coming from the adult community, you are justifying revenge and violence. So naturally you will have a population that is growing up believing that to be true.
Yes,
Which is what you're seeing happening in the society.
When your hero behaves like that, you also start behaving that.
See, earlier it used to be when the movies were less, when the movies were in their nascent stage, it was said that movies are a reflection of the society. Today, the society is the reflection of the movies. It has reversed. Because today, the society is molded by movies.
So, in that case, how can revenge, the feeling of revenge, be corrected? How can it be overcome?
No correction happens without realization. The only correction that happens without realization is through dictatorship. And that is not correction. That is a pretense of correction under the fear of consequences of what the dictator will do. Yeah. Genuine correction happens only with realization. I have to realize that I am revengeful and I need to correct myself. So there are two things I need to realize. First is that I'm doing something bad and I need to change. If these two things are not happening, you can't correct it. Now let's assume that these things are happening, that I have realized. Like you said, you realized that revenge is happening. So, and you want to change. How do you change that? A script has been written on your subconscious mind. Revenge is a reaction that comes to you when you feel wronged.
Yeah.
So it is a subconscious reaction. It's not a thought of reaction. The subconscious gives you an emotional response of resentment, anger, and the need to compensate by doing a revengeful act. When this feeling rises, now as a mature adult with a lot of experience, you probably have the capacity to think it over. So what will happen if I take a revengeful action? It might trigger an escalated response from the other party. Then I will escalate my response. And where will this escalation stop? And who will stop the escalation? That becomes an important part. If I have to diffuse the revengeful situation, I have to stop the escalation somewhere. Do I have the control over the other party to make him reduce? Or do I have control over myself to make myself reduce the escalation? The obvious answer is I have control more over myself than over the other party. Maybe you are still in the right and the other party is in the wrong. But if there is a desire in you to diffuse the escalation, then you are the one who has to take the step.
So it means that if you value relationships more than the sense of revenge, then you will realize that no, it is better to give, not have that sense.
Secondary, primarily, do you value your own improvement more? Relationship comes afterwards. If you are more interested in improving yourself and you know that you have these feelings of revenge, how to reverse this? There is a simple law. Anything that is practiced again and again becomes better and better. So if you are practicing revenge again and again, you will become more and more revengeful as time goes on. You want to reduce your revengeful nature, then you have to go against your urge for taking revenge. The more you practice that, one day you will find that not being revengeful doesn't hurt me. I'm more at peace and the situation doesn't escalate. Contra that, the opposite party may think that you are weak and he will start troubling you more.
True.
Because you are not doing anything. So again, these are situational things. If it becomes an encroachment into your life and you need to stand up to it, standing up to something unlawful and retaliating to satisfy your ego are two different things. So you need to draw that line, that am I standing up against some unjust thing happening to me, or am I just satisfying my ego in retaliating to the situation? You need to identify that.
So this feeling of revenge, it leads to health problem. Does it really lead to health problems?
Any emotion will lead to, any negative emotion will lead to a health problem. And that's why that word psychosomatic is coming up again and again. Nowadays you will hear a lot of medical practitioners saying that your disease is psychosomatic. So psycho is relating to the mind and somatic is relating to the cells of the body. So psychosomatic is the essential issue behind your manifested disease. So suppose you are having some skin disease, skin rash. Skin rashes are generally related to stress. Now, a neighbor has been hurtful to you and you have no means of retaliating, or you don't have a method of countering his hurtful behavior or speech. So there is a stress which, because you're going to be coming across this neighbor on and off in living in the same property. So that stress of how do I deal with this hurtful neighbor is going to show on your body, either in the form of a skin disease, or in the form of high blood pressure, or in the form of mental tension, a stroke. It can escalate to any extent. So yes, a revengeful nature will lead to a physical condition. Now suppose you are a successful person as far as revenge is concerned. So you have taken revenge on that same neighbor in whatever manner. So you will cultivate a sense of glee that yes, I was one up on that guy. This sense of glee will make you do the same thing again and again. Whenever you get an opportunity, you will be escalating your revengeful act against that neighbor, and slowly it will spread into other areas, not targeting only the neighbor. It will be other people as well who have offended you. So what happens to you? Your mind is constantly in turmoil and scheming and devising methods of being one up on the people surrounding you. So instead of doing anything constructive, you are now engaging in destructive activities, which is also going to affect your health. Because now you have taken a negative route, which is not in tune with the cause of your birth or the purpose of your birth. You are born to do creative things, but by being revengeful as a matter of cultivated habit, now you are doing destructive things. Yeah.